Okay, we're going to take a look at some relay type devices and identify them. I'm going to start with this first one right here. So this, if we look around at a little bit, has a DIN rail mounted base, and it snaps onto here like this. And I'm going to say that this is a control relay. Okay, so device A is a control relay. What else do we know about this? Well, somehow this turns on, all right? So if I look at it, I see written on the coil in here, it says 12 VAC. So this is actuated by 12 VAC. That's my coil. I'm then going to look at the contact designations here, and it's going to be pretty hard for you to see with the glare and stuff on here, but they got these pins here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And so these list the switches, okay? And so what this has is it has 2 poles, 1 and 8, or 1 and 8, and this switches between 4 and 3, and this switches between 6 and 5. So this has 2 poles, and it controls 2, so it's double throw, okay? So it's a double pole, double throw. 2 pole, 2 throw, or double pole, double throw. Maybe that's better. DP, DT. It comes in here, and you can see that there's the contacts anyways. And somewhere it says on here that this is good for 7 amps, up to 250 VAC. So this can switch up to 250 VAC and 7 amps. Okay, and so that is a pretty basic control relay with a couple switches in it, and it's actuated by 12 VAC. The next one I'm going to look at is this right here. Okay, you might look around it. It's got a variety of different connectors and terminals and everything like that. And so what this is a contactor. Okay, it's a contactor. It's a little bit of a bigger relay. It's a contactor. Okay. And this one was 12 VAC, so if I look around on the coil here on this one, right here I see it says 24 VDC. So that's what I got to find first. This is a 24 VDC coil. Okay. And this one had 2 switches on it. This one right here is going to have across here 1, 2, 3, 4. It's going to have 4 sets of contacts, and it says normally open, normally closed, normally open, normally open. So this has 3 normally opens and 1 normally closed, which these 3 normally opens could be used for our power circuit, line 1, 2, and 3 high voltage 3-phase. This could actually be used for monitoring on a PLC. We would need another normally open to use it for memory, okay? And if I look on the side right here, it tells me that it's good for 25 amps. Is what the contact would be good for right here. And it also has my voltage ratings here about what I would want to switch through. Sometimes these have like horsepower ratings on them, but it's got some interesting voltage all the way up to 690 volts. And at the low end, it looks like it would be switching 25 amps, but there's different amp ratings here depending on what your voltage was. But so it looks like this would switch about 25 amps. Okay, and it looks like it could it does say, I'm not sure why they have this here, but it says 600 volts AC max. 600 volts AC max, and that's kind of a standard max for a lot of items. For example, electrical tape with a couple of wraps is good for 600 volts. All right, so that's item B. Let's do item C. This one right here, well, it looks similar. It's got push buttons and contacts and terminals, connections, and everything like that. But if I look at this, this is going to be an overload. Okay, this is an overload. So because it's an overload, there's no coil on this. So I don't hook this up to make it switch. This does not click or switch like a relay. It's not an electromagnetic relay. Okay, and so what this is this is rated from between 0.8 and 0.2 amps. 0.8 and 1.2 amps. That's what you would set this for. And I'm imagining that this is probably good for upwards of 600 volts. I've got 500 volt rating on that. That seems like an odd rating. Let me see if I can see anything else on this. 0.8 to 1.2 amps. It's a 193-BSB is what it is. That's would help you identify it if you wanted to buy a new one. So it looks like they kind of saying up to 300 volts right here is what they would want this to not necessarily exceed. So 300 volts VAC max. Okay, so that would be an overload. The last one here looks got a lot of the same features as the other ones. This one's got the little wheel that turns here, kind of like this overload did. So that kind of looks, it's got a reset and everything, kind of like the overload. So I'm saying that this is an overload, but this here's got, you know, something that looks like this. So I'm saying that's a contactor. Well, when you put a contactor and overload together, you get a motor starter. So that's a motor starter. And if I wanted to turn this on, I have to go and find out where I would run the voltage, and it would be right over here. And this says 200, 220, 220, 240 VAC. So I'm just going to pick somewhere in the middle, and I'm going to say it's good for like a 230 VAC coil. And it depends on whether you're running 50 or 60 hertz. I'm just generalizing there. It says normally open, and I got line 1, line 2, line 3 normally closed. Oh, so this is interesting. This has it's got the main contacts for line 1, 2, and 3, so, and then the auxiliary. So it does have 4 normally open, and then it's got 1 normally closed. Okay, so we could do holding and monitoring with this. And then the relay here, it looks as it sets between 6 and 8 amps. Okay, 6 to 8 amps is what the overload is rated for right here, 6 to 8 amps. But I'm going to guess that, you know, without this on here, this thing would be rated for some pretty serious. Here it's rated. It tells us right here, max ratings: 3 horsepower, 445 horsepower, 550 to 600, 5 horsepower. So depending on what your voltage here, it looks like this thing is going to be rated up to like a 5 horsepower starter, really high voltage 5 horsepower at 440. So somewhere between a 3 and a 5 horsepower starter. That's what this motor would turn on, and the amps would correspond to the voltage. So there you have it. Oh, it's got them listed right here in kilowatts as well. So if you wanted to, at 440 volts, you could do a 4 kilowatt motor. All right, so got a lot of information on that nameplate. So that is a motor starter.